We saw the champions, we saw the bands, we saw the cheerleaders, we saw the fans. They say on any given Saturday it's possible to win. So let's talk about the season from the start to the end. We saw the champions, we saw the bands, we saw the cheerleaders, we saw the fans. They say on any given Saturday it's possible to win. So let's talk about the season from the start to the end.
Was there ever a weekend where so many people fumbled the bag in conference play? But when the team behind you fumbles the bag as well, was said bag ever really fumbled? We'll try and decipher that riddle by the end of the show. Welcome to the No Huddle, everyone. I'm Tolly Carr. Let's keep it pushing with the two big games that are happening this weekend. Trophies are being handed out in the CIAA and the SIAC on Saturday, but how did we get here? Let's start in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where a spot in the CIAA championship game opposite Bowie State could have gone to either Shaw University or Fayetteville State. Our Wally Pitt was on the field for all of the drama, and he has a recap of the regular season finale and a championship preview.
It's game day in Bowman Gray, and a CIAA South three-peat is well within the grasp of the Fayetteville State Broncos. They just got to beat the Rams in Winston on Senior Day. Sounds easy enough, but if you know how these rivals get down, you also know that anything can happen. Now, the Rams fumbled the bag that would have made a win and this one equal a trip to Salem for themselves. But they can still stop the Bronco Express in its tracks and end their season on a high note. Fayetteville State could have locked it up the week before last, but they lost to St. Aug. And now they got to take care of business in the Trey Foe so they can try to get to this chip. And the FSU cheer squad let us know it was turn up time.
Turn up, turn up, turn up, turn up. Make it right. Turn up, turn down. Turn down for what?
Now the Broncos came out looking like they were ready to get this thing over with quickly. This play fake had me and the Rams D thinking run, but it's a 28-yard touchdown pass from Richard Latimer to Brandon Pearson Boyd. 7-0 Broncos. They added a field goal later to go up 10-0. And it was looking like it might get ugly after another Bronco 3-and-out. But the punt gets bobbled, the Rams jump on it, and WSSU gets a little momentum to work with. Niall Ramadan moving, looking to get the Rams in scoring position. He's down at the 8. And Pharrell Murchison didn't even need the handoff. He takes the direct snap, dives over the pile. Winston's on the board, but down 10-7. The Broncos in the red zone, and there must have been some sort of miscommunication because this might have been the easiest interception of Darius Skinner's career. The Rams cooking with Samoa that Mo in the second. SU on the move, back at the 1-yard line, and Pharrell Murchison goes low with this one. WSSU takes the lead. Murchison and the boys flick it up in the end zone. 14-10, Rams with the lead. Fayetteville State looking to get Big Mo back on their side, but this ain't how you do it. Another INT for last year's HBCU Game Day Defensive Player of the Year, the 22nd of his career, second most all-time in WSSU history, and we step into halftime with the Broncos on upset alert, down 14-10. Now the Red Sea of Sound and the Marching Bronco Express were basically like, catch us at midfield. How about that? Winston adds a three-pointer to their lead early in the third. It's now 17-10 Rams, but the Broncos realized it was time to wake up and go get to this ring. Richard Latimer hits Tyus Sharp, who makes the NFL grab on the sideline for 29 yards. Escape asked us, who can I run to? And the answer is Stevie Green. Here's a nice 15-yard break-off from Superman. Followed up by a 4-yard touchdown for one of the hardest working running backs I have ever seen. And I got to take a moment to appreciate this young man. Ladies and gentlemen, Stevie Superman Green, salute to you, my guy. It has been a joy to watch you run the rock. Broncos tie the game up at 17, and we're headed into the fourth quarter with the trip to Salem hanging in the balance. Fayetteville State looking to take the lead, and the Rams give them some help. Pass interference on the deep ball to Johnny Glaspie. Darrell Walker, they call him Swole, and you won't need an explanation why after seeing this drive. Here he goes for a strong 14 yards. Then he blasts through the line, dragging what looks like every other player on the field with him for the 10-yard score. Broncos back up 24-17. And when it rains, it pours. Dominique Graves with the fumble, Karan Blunt with the recovery. The Broncos hand it back off to Swole for another touchdown. It's 31-17, and it's starting to feel like a three-peat on the FSU sideline. And an interception by Josh Williams seals the deal, and the Fayetteville State Broncos are kings of the South for the third straight time.
We knew we just had to stop turning the ball over and having silly, stupid penalties, 15-yard penalties. As it relates to next week, it is what it is, man. We're going to be ready. I guarantee you that. We'll be ready.
Man, kings of the South, y'all heard it here for 3 times. 3 times? 3 times?
Hey, Brandon who? Brandon Sauce Smith. You already know 3 times in a row, baby. 1, 2, 3. You already know we had to come back with it, baby. Yes, sir.
And just like that, the CIAA championship game is set.
Salem.
And after 10 weeks of last-second touchdowns, fourth quarter punt blocks, and headhunting for the top spot from a host of different challenges, we find ourselves back in the same spot we were in last year. The Fayetteville State Broncos versus the Bowie State Bulldogs, 2 teams that have dominated their respective divisions for the past few years. But this sequel has a different cast of characters on one side and an entirely different mentality on the other. The reigning champs are a 10-0 juggernaut, with the top scoring offense and the top scoring defense in the CI. And aside from a single-digit scare against an upstart Shaw University squad, the Bulldogs have handled business by at least 10 points in all their other wins. They still got the CIAA Offensive Player of the Year, but it's Jerome Johnson, not Amir Hall. And almost all of the other individual postseason awards went to Bulldogs too, most of whom weren't even all conference last year. Simply put, Bowie State reloaded. But the Broncos still got most of the faces from their 2 previous coronations as kings of the CIAA South. Stevie Green is still Superman. Keyshawn James is still all up in the other team's backfield. But the Broncos are older, wiser, and no longer content with just getting there.
It means a lot. We just got to finish this time. That's all I can say. It's good we got there. This is 3rd year in a row. This time we got to finish. We actually got to finish.
And unlike Bowie, they had a few close encounters from teams in the South who wanted the crown for themselves. And while the majority of folk are probably thinking it's going to be back-to-back for the Bowie State Bulldogs, one particular Hall of Fame coach is rolling with his family ties and has put his vote in for the Broncos.
And my nephew, who really my son, Richard is head coach at Fayetteville, came up with a huge win and to put that university in the championship game. And Fayetteville is an awfully good football team. And, they played well all year. Had a couple of slip-ups, but just a good coaching job by the staff at Fayetteville State. And they've got some good athletes, and I really expect them to win the CIAA championship.
But at the end of what's going to be a cold evening in Salem, Virginia, there will only be one team that gets to call themselves champions of the CIAA.
All right, thanks, Wally. Should be a good one. The CIAA Championship airs on Aspire TV directly after the No Huddle. When we come back, it's time to set things up in the SIAC, where the championship game will be played at the Coliseum down in South Georgia. We'll tell you all about it. The No Huddle returns in just a minute.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to hbcugameday.com.
Welcome back to the No Huddle. It's set up perfectly in the SIAC this year that rivals Albany State and Fort Valley State would decide the Eastern Division in the SIAC as they battled things out in the Fountain City Classic, while mortal enemies Miles and Tuskegee would duke it out in Alabama in Week 10 at Tuskegee's homecoming, nonetheless, for the right to be called Western Division champions. So Fort Valley State fell without starting quarterback Slade Jarman, and it was a third quarter for the ages from Albany State. So they are back in the SIAC Championship game, representing the East. Miles just played big boy on the block, holding Tuskegee to 6 points in the game that meant everything. So a rematch from 2018 is where we find ourselves. Miles won't have the benefit of the home field this year. The championship site switches to the Eastern Division and the Coliseum at Albany State. Are you entertained? The tale of the tape reads a little something like this. Miles is the #2 scoring team in the conference at 28.2 points per game, followed by Albany State at 25.8 points per game. Both are stout on defense as well. Albany State #2 in the conference, allowing just 14 points per game. Miles #4, their defense giving up 17.5 points per game. Albany State wants to thrash you between the tackles. They are going to run the ball. They're averaging a league best 234 yards per game rushing. Miles is a top 5 passing offense at 183 yards per game in the air. Now, if you're looking for a key metric that might show who has the edge, just slight here, let's look at getting to the quarterback. Miles has Jalen Thomas and Mitchell Smiley, 2 of the top 7 sack artists in the conference. And if you look at the top 11, Miles has 3 players in the top 11. Now, Miles hung one on Albany State last year in the championship, 50-23, blew up in the second half. This year, we will all hopefully see a more exciting game for all 4 quarters. And it's been a fun year covering the SIAC. Seeing Savannah State back at home was really cool. But prepare yourself, Savannah State's going to be eligible next year for the championship, and they are in their window to compete for the big trophy, and for the next couple of years at least, in my opinion. For real, for real. All right, time to pony up and head down to SWAC country. We have a 4th quarter comeback that you will have to see for yourself. The No Huddle returns in just a moment.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to hbcugameday.com.
All right, in the SWAC, Alcorn State lost to Grambling in overtime last week, its first conference loss of the season. Jackson State was riding a 3-game winning streak heading into Huntsville, and a win over Alabama A&M would have meant a tie at the top of the Eastern Division on Saturday night. But with 5 minutes left to go, it seemed that way. It really did, but you have to finish the deal. Big game in the SWAC Eastern Division, Alabama A&M hosting Jackson State. Let's go to the third quarter. Jackson State up 17-13. Keyshawn Harper takes the handoff, and he's going to run it 41 yards for a Tigers touchdown. The extra point would be blocked, 23-13 Jackson State. Later is 23-20 JSU. Continuing with the rushing attack, Jordan Johnson outruns everyone on this 51-yard score. Tigers up 30-20. But A&M still fighting. Jordan Bentley takes the rock up the middle, breaking some tackles, and he scores. That cuts JSU's lead down to 30-27. Next Jackson State possession, Jalen Jones steps up in the pocket. He's stripped by Marquise Price. The ball is loose, and Marcus Kashin picks it up and rumbles 53 yards for a Bulldogs touchdown. A&M takes a 34-30 lead. But Jones would make up for it, calling his own number and outrunning the defense. Another 51-yard touchdown by Jackson State. They lead it 43-34 with 5 minutes left to play. Game over, right? Nope. Alabama A&M scores a touchdown 1 minute later to make it 43-41. And then, with 25 seconds remaining, Akil Glass hits Ryan Stoves across the middle. Alabama A&M up 48-43, 25 seconds left. Jackson State gets one last chance. Jones completes the pass. Oh, we got to go a little hook and lateral. But that hardly ever works. Doesn't work this time. Alabama A&M. Wow, what a comeback, what a win. 48-43 over Jackson State. All right, let's look at those standings heading into today's games. Jackson State and A&M fall back to 3-2 in the conference, but the Bulldogs, they're in Lorman, Mississippi today for a game against the Braves that could put Connell Maynard's crew in first place in the division. Now, wouldn't that be something? Alabama State, they are 4-2 and out of conference today at Florida State. Do you think they can beat the Seminoles? There's been a lot going on in Tallahassee. I wouldn't put money on it, but we'll see. Now, how about Alabama State? They've lost to Alcorn and A&M, but if they would have won one of those, they could have been right there. That's something. All right, let's go out west. Southern remains on top, although Grambling is the hottest team in the conference. Despite that 0-4 start, they've put things together. 5 straight wins. It's going to come down to the Bayou in the west. It always does. Prairie View at 3-3. UAPB started the season hot, but they've come back to the rest of the field as of late. Texas Southern. Boy, they were hot this summer, weren't they? Drip you. Well, they remain winless on the season. All right, let's swing back to the East Coast over in the MEAC where top teams tumbled last weekend as well. Bethune-Cookman had what seemed to be a layup against Delaware State, but they fumbled and tumbled in that game. Didn't see that coming. Same case for North Carolina A&T, who can seemingly beat everyone except for Morgan State. And FAMU. Rattlers wanted you to know that, Aggie. Sorry, I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot me. Got to keep it 100. For the second year in a row, A&T falls to a well below 500 Morgan State Bears team. Now, we were there on Saturday in Baltimore taking a few photos, but Morgan State needs its moment in the sun for beating the Celebration Bowl champs. So let's run it back and show you where this modern take on David versus Goliath began. It was 2018 in Greensboro at Aggie Stadium.
BB&T Stadium in Greensboro, North Carolina is the backdrop for this instant HBCU classic as the Aggies of North Carolina A&T in their 15-game winning streak hosted the Baltimore Bears of Morgan State, who have gone 1-13 in the same time span as Aggies 15 straight. And as our Tolly Carr said earlier this week, this was the trap game of all trap games. And it was just that, trap. Now go ahead and marinate on that for a second. This one was a very tough defensive game. A&T setting the tone early as they get the fumble on the punt return. The Bears with the immediate clapback as Lamar Renard underthrows an open Elijah Bell and Dante Small makes him pay with the interception. Then it's Mac, Daddy, Young Scrappy, Mac McCain with the nice scoop pick, and this time A&T cashes in on the turnover. A great play fake from Lamar Renard that had me and Morgan State's defense fooled. He finds Leroy Hill, who barrels into the end zone for 6. Aggies maybe a little cocky. They went for 2 and didn't convert. It's 6-0 Aggies in the second quarter. Next drive, Morgan State was like, nah, Mo. They used a balanced attack to get downfield, and quarterback DeAndre Harris dives into the end zone from 10 yards out. They complete the point after attempt and go up by 1, 6-7, and that was the score at halftime. Morgan State adds a field goal to go up 10-6. Lamar Renard not playing his best game. He goes after the left side of the Morgan secondary and is almost picked off. He comes right back the next play and Morgan is ready for it again. This time Marquise Thorns gets the pick and the Aggies send Lamar Renard to the bench. He would not return for the rest of the game. A Markel Cartwright touchdown and another Morgan State field goal ties the game up at 13-all in the fourth. And we got ourselves a ball game. The Aggies on a long march down the field to try to win the game. Khalil Carter in at quarterback, but the Morgan secondary comes up with stop after stop after stop. I mean, my game ball goes to the entire Morgan State Bears secondary. They did a remarkable job. They forced A&T to try for the go-ahead field goal, and Noel Ruiz from 43 is wide right. Aggies miss a golden opportunity to take the lead, and this game is still tied late in the fourth quarter. Now, Morgan State has the rock and control of the clock. Deontay White catches this one for 13 yards to get them into field goal range. They take the clock all the way down to 2 seconds before attempting the possible game-winning, streak-ending field goal. The Morgan State Bears arms locked together, counting on Alex Iceman Raya, and the snap, the hold, the kick, and the celebration. Morgan State shocks the HBCU football world by ending North Carolina A&T's 15-game winning streak. in the doghouse, and after the game, Morgan State was ready to let everyone know that this was only a shock to people outside of their locker room in Baltimore.
I'm trying to tell him. That's good. It's all confidence.
Ocho Cinco, what up? What up, Ocho Cinco, what up?
Baby, don't shock the world, man. We knew we gonna win, man. We knew we got a great team, man. We gonna win this game, man. We knew we were gonna win this game, man. Let's go, man.
It's a new day.
Ain't nobody surprised, man.
We're the best team in the league. The streak is over. The streak is over. You see it, baby. Morgan State, baby. Morgan State.
So how does this shake up the MEAC standings? FAMU is ineligible, so we'll have to ignore that beautiful 6-0 record that they have. Looks great, but not this year. A&T, Bethune-Cookman, South Carolina State, they now sit at 4-2 in a three-way tie for first, but there are tiebreakers. If we were deciding a championship today, South Carolina State lost to A&T but beat Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman and A&T play today, which will decide that head-to-head, should we have said tiebreaker. And South Carolina State is at North Carolina Central today. The Eagles woulda, shoulda, coulda been in the first place mix if they had won homecoming last weekend, but Norfolk State was like, nah, brah, we got this. And they took care of things down in Durham. So this could go three different ways by later tonight, and we are here for all of it. We will wrap up the No Huddle when we return. Stay right there.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to HBCUGameDay.com.
It's a championship Saturday, and somehow this season has snuck its way past us. As the season ends, that means it's time once again to award our HBCU Game Day Protect Your Skull Players of the Year awards. Now, this year we're doing a Player of the Year for both offense and defense in Division I and in Division II. So we'll have 4 trophies this year. If you'd like to nominate a player or voice your opinion, reach out to us on whatever social media platform you like to roll with. You can easily find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. Just send us a DM, post on our page. The keyword equals HBCU Game Day. And if you're the type of person that still likes to pick up a phone and actually use it to call people, I know that's weird in 2019, you can call the HBCU hotline and leave us a message at 404-832-5052. Also, keep up with us on social media at HBCUGameDay.com as well for the latest and breaking news in Black college sports. Coaching changes at this time of the year are common, of course, so when there is some movement, we will let you know. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. For the entire crew, I'm Tali Carr. We'll see you guys, switch hands, next week.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to HBCUGameDay.com.